I am addicted to those desk setup videos, and finally, after looking at my Amazon cart with about 30 items for a year, I finally pulled the trigger. I finally built my dream desk. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through everything on this desk, why I got it, which items I like, which items I don't like, and hopefully it's a cool video. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Let's start with the beast that runs it all, and that is my computer. So right here, it's kind of hard to tell, but this is the MacBook Pro, and it has changed the game for me. And it's no stuttering with 4K libraries. I can work with multiple projects in Final Cut Pro. I can work with the original media in Final Cut Pro as well, instead of making any proxies and stuff like that. I can make thumbnails in Photoshop, work on my other photos in Lightroom, work on like 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 million projects in Final Cut Pro, and it all runs really, really smoothly. And I was using the M1 before, and this guy is the 14-inch MacBook Pro in space gray. It's completely, absolutely maxed out. So it's the, let me see what it is. It's the M1 Max with 10-core CPU, 32-core GPU, 16-core neural engine, 64 gigabytes of unified memory, and 8 terabytes of solid-state storage. What's holding my MacBook Pro here is I just went on Amazon and I bought something silver, hopefully trying to match the dark gray or the space gray silver of my laptop, and it's the Omoton double desktop stand. There's actually another slot right next to it, but I don't really use that right now because I only have my laptop here. I guess actually, wait, I could put my iPad there. I don't even know if this is gonna, how nice is that? The iPad goes there too. Well, now I actually use the double stand. So going on to one of the cooler things and one of my most recent purchases, this is the Apple Studio display with the Visa mount. The metal thing looks really cool, but I like kind of the appearance of it floating in thin air here. And I also like the fact that it can latch right onto my desk right here. So now I've got this little bit of extra space. I can tilt it and move it any way I want, and it's just awesome. It's really big, it's really bright, and it's really sharp. And that's really all I can ask for. But I have this main monitor here, and I know a lot of people use the desk setups that are like kind of pointing towards the middle, but I like to have one focused screen right here and then a side screen. There are a couple studies actually that show when you have two screens, you are more productive. So I wanted to have two screens, but I didn't like the idea of looking at two screens like this. I like to have my focus screen and then my side screen. So my side screen, this is the LG 27G L83AB 27-inch monitor. And on the back of this, I have the Huanoa single monitor mount. And on this one, I have the fully Jarvis mounting arm. And the fully mounting Jarvis arm is like so much better than the Huanoa Amazon whatever one, but it's like 5 times as expensive, so that makes sense. But it's much more sturdy, it's white, it looks nicer. So that's what's holding up my studio display. And then I have the Huanoa holding up the other one here. Okay, now I want to talk about something that's really, really cool, but kind of boring in the same way. It's this digital mounting station. So this is the CalDigit 3 digital mounting station, and it's way in the back there, but it's got Thunderbolt ports, display ports, and all this kind of stuff. And as you can see here, I kind of have all my wires coming through this little hole on my desk, and basically these all interface through the CalDigit port. As a side note, which I learned in the beginning, which is really annoying, if you get the CalDigit 3 or one of these docking stations, usually they need a Thunderbolt 3 cable as opposed to a regular USB-C cable. I didn't even know there was a difference, but there is a difference. It makes sense because it needs to connect kind of all these different drives to your main computer with one single cable. Now, most of my work is done from the actual hard drive on my computer because that's 8 terabytes, and that's really all I need for temporary work. But then after I'm done with like my libraries on Final Cut Pro, Photoshop files, everything like that, I put them over to 2 16 terabyte massive hard drives that are connected through the CalDigit docking station. And that's one of them is the Glyph 16 terabyte external drive, and then the other one is a Lacy 16 terabyte external drive. And I also use a bunch of cables. Usually I use a lot of USB-Cs, but usually the faster and longer, the better. So the Thunderbolt 4 is really great, especially if you can get like a 15-foot version of that. But I also have a Thunderbolt 3. Of course, these cables are going to be more expensive, but they make life so much better, especially if transferring stuff from my camera to my computer and also just connecting to other drives. Okay, let's talk about now the actual desk and chair I'm sitting in. And I took a long time to decide which desk and which chair I wanted to sit in, but for a good reason. if I'm gonna be sitting in a certain place for like 8 hours plus every single day or most days, I should probably get something that's pretty nice to sit in, something that's pretty great. And researching the difference between sitting and standing desks, I don't think there actually is much of a difference on my cursory review of the evidence of a sitting only versus a standing only desk. It seems that standing in one place for an extended period of time isn't great, just as like sitting in one place for an extended period of time isn't great. But having a desk that goes between sitting and standing is great, because then you can alter between sitting and standing, and that's movement. And the kind of the reason why sitting or standing in one place for a long time is so bad is that you're not really moving, you're just static. But if I'm at the standing desk, right, I don't really need the chair to sit in. But I find a lot of the time, probably 75% of the time, I actually like sitting in the chair, and then the other 25% of the time, I like to be standing on the standing desk mode, which I'll talk about the desk soon. So let's talk about the desk. I wanted the widest, biggest, flattest desk there could be. I love having all this space I could. And what I did is I actually measured from the couch to the other end of the wall, and I tried to figure out, okay, how much space do I have? What's the biggest desk I can literally put here? And that's what I got. So this is the Jarvis by Fully 72-inch by 30-inch bamboo standing desk. And the customizations I did on it, I did the white lifting columns, white programmable frame, USB-C power grommet, desk hooks, bamboo desk drawer, clamp mounted surge protectors, float deck, which I'll show you in a second, and the single Jarvis mounting arm, which is what's holding my studio display right there. The other great thing about this desk is I can put it between different levels, different height levels, which is really good because that's the whole point, I think, of having a standing desk with variable levels. You can sit down, you can stand up, you can do other things. So I have 4 memories here, modes, and the first one is just sitting, that's 26.1 inches, I think it's set at. And then the next one is 2, and 2 is the standing mode, right? That's the first level of the standing mode here, which, hello, camera number 2. Standing mode is good because now, you know, this is the mode we're talking about where you can stand up and work. And I remember I watched this YouTube video about how you're meant to set up your desk so you can stand properly. And it's something like your elbows should be level with your arms relaxed, and then the top of your head should be at the top of the screen here. And then I also have another level, and that's level 3. And that's because, oh yeah. But I have this float deck here, which is this cool little thing that you stand on, and it's kind of fun because it balances you and you can twist and turn and all this kind of stuff. But I had to set another level for that because this way I'm even a little bit higher. So I need to, again, I want to make sure that my elbows are kind of down by my side at the perfect height level here. And usually I'm alternating between these 3 desk setups, 1, 2, and 3. Again, 3 is when I'm on this fancy floating thing right here. You can see I'm moving like this. And then 2 is when I'm just standing up like this, and then 1 is when I'm sitting down at the desk. So now let's talk about the chair. The chair I have is awesome. I love, 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 love this chair, but it is one of the most expensive things I've probably ever bought. And this is the Herman Miller Aeron chair, and I don't know if it's pronounced like that, so I'm just gonna pretend, you know, I'm the substitute teacher. Aeron. So the reason I like this chair so much is that it's just really comfortable to sit in without any adjustments when you first sit in. But it's also really, really adjustable. So you can adjust the height, of course, you can adjust how much you tilt back or forward, but you can also adjust how strong or weak you need to push the chair to tilt. So I have a pretty weak setting because I like to rock back and forth a lot. You can also adjust the angle of the kind of arm things here, the height of the arm things. And finally, there's a cool setting that when you tilt this bottom part forward, basically it tilts the whole chair more forward more frequently, and that's because when you get near the end of the day, apparently you want to lean, apparently a lot of people, what they do is they start to lean more forward more, so it sets the tilt a little bit to lean more forward. And then when the day starts up again, or you want to lean back, you just twist this thing back again, and it won't lean as far forward again, and you're back in kind of your normal mode. It's awesome. Now let's talk about the audio equipment on my computer. Okay, so here I have the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 audio interface, and really this is just a fancy way that I can integrate my microphone, my headphones, and my fantastic speakers over here. So going first to this nice little microphone setup over here, this is just, you know, if I'm on a Zoom call or something like that, I can sound a little bit more fancy. And then I also have these even fancier studio monitoring headphones, and I have these next to the Sony 1000 XM5s. These are the ones I used most of the time because they're just awesome for regular listening. But if I'm like editing my voice or doing some really nitty-gritty voice work, I'll usually put these ones on because they don't really adjust the levels and like frequencies of the audio I'm listening to, but these ones will. But this one won't. But the microphone here, this is the Shure SM7B, and I have it going into a cloud lifter, which then goes into the Focusrite, which then goes into my computer. Now, some cool other items I'll talk about briefly. I have the Pomodoro timer here, which I love. Again, I usually just bring it down to 25 minutes, and then it's awesome. And then when the time is up, you hear that amazing beeping sound. I have a basic line notebook here, and I just find for important things, I like to kind of write them down. Also, I put all my daily tasks, so the things I need to do during the day, on a little sticky note here, just because I don't want to fill up this notebook with tons of little daily tasks. So usually what I'll do is I'll go through this notebook, go through the previous day's sticky note, and then I'll write the next day's task the night before the next day, if that makes sense. And then as that day goes on, I'll cross out the things I need to do. And the pen I use is the Pilot Precise V5. It's awesome. And yeah, those are pretty much all the other little accessories. I try to keep my desktop is kind of with not as much on it as possible. And these are Sony XM5 headphones. These are great. These are what I listen to 90% of the time when I'm editing my videos on Final Cut Pro. But otherwise, I usually just go through these beasts of speakers here, and these are the Yamaha HS8 speakers, and I have them just on some basic speaker stands. And what they do is I actually have an XLR male to a 1/4 of an inch TRS male, and that goes into the back of the Focusrite in the back right here into those. So again, this way I have the right and left, and I can adjust those levels like this. But that is it. That is my entire desk setup. This is where I'm sitting for a long time during the day, and I'm sitting here now, and I will be sitting here for a while. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.